This tutorial will take you through making a film soundtrack for a video clip using Garageband or Logic. I'm using Garageband, but the instructions for Logic will be very similar. So on Garageband, I've gone to create a new project. I've chosen empty project to create a brand new empty file, and then what it'll do when I choose that is ask me to create a new track. I'm going to choose MIDI or a software instrument even on the left hand side here, and then press create, and that will add my first instrument, this classic electric piano. Now before I worry about what that instrument is or anything, I'm going to add in my video clip because I need to make sure my video, everything I do is synced up for my video for this project. So I'm going to find my video file. I've got mine saved in this folder here, but you may have downloaded yours. It may be in the downloads folder, it may be on your desktop, wherever you've got that file. If you then find it, then simply drag it into your project. So click and drag to pop it into Garageband or Logic. In Garageband it'll just go in straight away. If you're using Logic, it might come up with some boxes to press OK before you add it in. And what you'll see when you've added it is you'll see this window with the video. I can press play and play the video. There we go. But it will it's a little bit big. I'm going to resize that so I've got room to see the sound I'm adding as well. So I'm just going to go to the top right left hand corner there, click and drag, make it a bit smaller and pop it over there. It's also added a new track on my project. Now this panel here is the tracks panel, where I can add new instruments and sounds in, and I've got my classic electric piano, which is the first one I created, which I'm going to change in a minute, but it's also got this new one called Ruining the Soup, which is the name of the video I added. And in this file, I've got this different section here with all these different kind of squiggly lines. And this is the sound that was already on the video. So in this case, that is the sound effects and the dialogue, the speaking on the clip, and anything else that's on there. So that's kind of already there. And if I press play, I'll be able to hear that.
We gotta tell somebody. Yeah.
There we go. The other thing I can hear at the moment is I can hear a little ticking sound, which is the metronome. The metronome is something that we can use later on to keep things in time with each other, but we're not going to use that for this project. So this little purple icon here where it says metronome click, when I hold my mouse over it, if I click on that, it will get rid of the metronome. So when I press play, there we go. Just hear the sound from the video, not the ticking. Okay, now my project is set up. I've got my video file in. I've got the sound effects all here. I'm going to go back to my classic electric piano track, that first instrument I created. Now, the instrument that you're using always depends on what track is selected. And at the moment, I've got my Ruining the Soup track selected, but I want to go back to classic electric piano. So I'm going to click over here on the electric piano track, and you'll see that then the picture on the left-hand side has changed to the electric piano. This panel here has got loads of different instruments on, okay? And this is where you can change the instrument sound that you're using. Now, the electric piano is the default, but I want to use some orchestral instruments because film music usually uses sounds from an orchestra. So I'm going to press on orchestral over here on the left hand side, and I've got all these different instruments in the orchestra. I've got brass, percussion, strings and woodwinds and all of these different sounds here, as well as some others on mine like a choir and a pipe organ and stuff like that. I'm going to start off with some strings, I think, which is where I've got my violins and violas and cellos. When I press strings on my one, you may have some more options than this, and you may well have violins and violas, but what I've got is the smart strings or the string ensemble. What they basically do, these different files, is they include all of those instruments. You can see a picture of them all just here. So when I play a high note on the keyboard, that'll be a violin or a high instrument, whereas when I play a low note, that'll be a cello or a double bass. So I'm going to use string ensemble, which will include all my string instruments, and I'm going to play a high note on the keyboard. Now, this is where I'm going to bring in my piano keyboard. Attached to my computer is a piano keyboard, and I've turned it on. I've turned the sound on the keyboard itself down to 0, but because my keyboard's on, the sound's going to instead come from the computer. So if I play a key now, hopefully, there we go, you will hear the sound of a high violin. I was playing a high key on the keyboard there to play that violin sound. If you haven't got that for whatever reason and your keyboard isn't working, your piano keyboard, you can go to the window menu at the top and press show musical typing, and that will give you some options to actually play your computer keyboard like it's a piano keyboard. But I'm going to use my piano keyboard, and the first thing I'm going to record is the sound for when Remy the Rat falls down at the start of the video. If I go and press play from the start.
We gotta tell somebody. Yeah.
first thing that happens is he falls from the ceiling into the sink below. And I'm going to make a nice kind of little sound on my violin going from a high note to a low note really quickly. So let's find a high note on my keyboard. And then I'm going to drag my finger from this high note down to a lower note like this. There we go, and I was playing all the notes in between, dragging my finger down, not too fast, I don't want to damage the keyboard, but I'm just gently going from a high note to a low note, and we call that a glissando. It can be quite good for recording. Let's press play, it can be quite good for getting a falling sound, I should say. I said recording because we're going to do that next. I'm going to press play and see if I can play that along with him actually falling down and see if it syncs up. Let's have a go. Here we go, press play.
We're going to tell somebody, yeah.
There we go. So I think that could work quite nicely. Once I've had a little practice, I can then record. Now the record button, what I've been using at the top here is these little commands for play and record. Stop, obviously stops. The little triangle here is play. I've also got fast forward and rewind, which lets me skip back and forth through the video, although it is a bit easier to do that by just dragging the playhead at the top here. And the red record button will allow me to actually record in my ideas. So I'm going to press record, and then let's record that little pattern going down. Here we go.
We're going to tell somebody, yeah.
There we go. And you'll see that it drew in the sound going down just like this of the notes going from the high notes to the low notes. Just there we go. Now, at the bottom, as he crashes, I'd like there to be another sound, maybe the sound of a cymbal crash as he hits the water. So I'm going to make a new track for this. I've got my strings are on this track. Let's make a new track. In this left panel here, where I've got the different tracks, there's a little plus button, and the plus button will add you to add something new. So I'm going to press plus button. Software instrument on the left, I'm always going to choose that one. And I've got a new now classic electric piano just below the strings. So let's change that. I'm going to go to the orchestral menu to get my orchestral instruments again. I'm going to go to percussion, and the one I want to choose is orchestral kit. What that will do is it'll give me loads of different sounds that are played by percussion players in an orchestra. So if I press a key on the keyboard, there we go, all sorts of different sounds. Now I'm looking for a cymbal crash, and I think as I was pressing random keys I found it actually. I think it was this one here. There we go. So that key there is my cymbal crash. So what I'm going to do is as he hits the water, I'm going to try and press that key to get a nice cymbal crash to show him splashing into the water. Let's press record again and give it a go. Here we go.
We're going to tell somebody, yeah.
There we go. My violins aren't playing very loudly there. I think what I might do is turn some volumes up and down. So on the left hand side here where I've got my audio, I'm going to turn that one down for the sound effects. I'm going to turn the violins up a little bit. There is a bit of an issue with my some of these notes not sounding properly, but I'll leave them for now. Now I just recorded a new sound there, my cymbal crash. Let's just see if it worked. I think. There we go. You can just hear that working now. If you got it a bit wrong, let's say you were like, hang on a minute, it didn't quite hit when I wanted it to. This little green loop here you can double click on. And if you double click on the little green thing you've recorded, you can actually see the note. And I can see here, there we go, this little green thing, that is the note that I played. Now, along the top here is the playhead, which will show where we are in the video. And if I click and drag on that, I can go backwards and forwards to find the exact moment when he hits the water. Now I did it pretty good, but it's a tiny bit late. He hits the water just there. Poor Remy, he's all right, don't worry. And my note I played was slightly later than that. So what I can do is I can actually move it. I can click and drag to move that note around and get it exactly where I want it to be. Let's try that now. There we go, that sounds good. So I've now got the cymbal crash as he hits the water. Let's add a new instrument to create the next little bit of my clip. I'm going to press plus menu to add a new track, press create, and then again I've got a new classic electric piano. Now a thing to remember as I keep adding new tracks here is that whatever's on the piano keyboard will be what I've got selected. So when I was playing my orchestral kit, when I select that track and play the piano keyboard, there we go, I've got my kit. Whereas if I select my new track, the piano and a classic electric piano, then play the keyboard, there we go, then I've got my sound. So you've always got to be aware of which track you've got selected. I'm going to go back to the orchestral menu, and this time I'm going to have some woodwinds, I think, because I've got strings and percussion so far. Let's add some woodwinds. And so far everything has been a bit high with my strings and my cymbal crash. Let's try adding something low. I'm going to use a bassoon, which is the lowest instrument in the woodwind section. And then low on my keyboard, let's try playing a few notes with that bassoon. There we go. That's my kind of low bassoon instrument. Now, for when Remy's underwater, I'm going to try playing a little tune. And what I'm going to do for this one is I'm actually going to make up something called a leitmotif. A leitmotif is like a little theme tune that I'm going to come back to at a couple of points in the clip. And this is going to be like Remy's theme tune. It's going to be his little melody, which I'm going to play in a few different ways in the clip to describe how he's feeling and what he's doing. But this tune that I make up now is going to be Remy's tune, and it's going to represent him. So I'm going to do it low at the moment because I'm going to do it for him underwater, although he's a mouse, so it's probably going to be played a bit higher later. And I'm going to make a really simple little tune. Let's find a note on the keyboard. There you go, that's the note C. And I'm going to try and make up a combination of about maybe 3 or 4 notes, just a really simple little pattern which could represent Remy. I think mine might go something like... There we go, so I went C twice, and then I jumped up to E and then went E, D, C. So that little melody, there we go, that's going to be my simple little tune to represent Remy's here. Okay, something to do with Remy the Rat. Now the first time I hear it in this clip is going to be low and underwater, so I might actually do it a bit slower to show that he is floating around in the water and everything's gone a bit floaty and weird with that low sound. Let's see what that would sound like played along with him being underwater. Here we go, ready? Now he actually popped up there, didn't he? But I think he goes down again. There we go. So I actually played it twice there because he went underwater, then he popped back up and ran on the cup, and then he went underwater again, so I played the tune again. I think that could work. Let's try recording my little leitmotif of him whenever he's underwater. Here we go. Pressing the record button, and let's try playing it in. Ready? Just going to turn those sound effects down a little bit. Here we go. There we go. I actually only played half of it the first time because he popped up. And then I played it in full the second time. So there we go. I've got my first version of his little leitmotif, and I'm going to bring that back later on in the piece. Let's see what I'm going to add to the middle section here, though, which is when he's running on the cup. I think when he's running on the cup could be a good opportunity for me to play something on the violins again. Let's see. On the violins up here, I'm going to try playing some quick notes like I just did on the keyboard. There we go, to show him his little feet running nice and quickly when he's on top of the cup there. And we call that a trill when we play 2 notes really quickly. So I'm going to try playing in my little quick running, and I might also add a little sound for him emerging from the water. Maybe like a little pattern of notes going up like this. There we go, so he's going up. And then he runs on the cup, and then he goes back under again, doesn't he? Okay, so I'm going to try recording that now. Let's try recording that along with my clip and see if I can make that fit in with the action on the screen. Here we go. There we go. So he popped up, he did his little running thing, and then he popped back down again. And then I did an extra little pop-up when he pops back up at the end, but it was actually a little bit late. So I'm going to double-click on my part again. I can see the notes I played, and look, he emerges from the water there. There he comes. But my sounds come a little bit too late. So I'm going to drag a box around them, and I'm going to bring them back a bit so they happen just as he emerges from the water. About here. Let's try that now. Here we go. There we go. Great. Now, he's going to fall down onto the floor and hit the floor, so I think this might be a good opportunity for another cymbal crash. So I'm going to click on my orchestral kit, and remember, whichever sound I've got selected on the left-hand side, that's the one that will be played on my piano keyboard. So I'm going to choose orchestral kit, and let's find that sound again, wherever it is. There we go. I found my key with my cymbal crash on it. I'm going to press record and have that crash when he hits the floor. Here we go. There we go. I was a tiny bit late with that one, so let's do what I did before and find the exact moment he hits the floor. There he is. Oh, poor little guy. Let's go. There we go. And then drag it back a tiny bit, and then hopefully... There we go. Now, for the next little part of the clip, he's going to be running around, okay? He's going to be scuttering around the floor here. And I think it might be good to add a new instrument here. So I'm going to press New Track. So New Track on the top left-hand side. Let's choose Software Instrument again, which I'm always going to do. Press Create. I've got my new little track here. Again, it's a classic electric piano, but let's change that. I'm going to go to the orchestral menu, and I'm going to choose another woodwind instrument, but instead of the low bassoon, this time I'm going to go with a high flute. There we go. And on my keyboard, nice and high, let's see what the flute sounds like. There we go. Now, I'm going to use this for when he's running along the floor. I want something quite quick to show his little feet running across the floor. But what I might do is bring back my little theme that I created for Remy the Rat. That was the one that the bassoon played when he was underwater. It went like this. I'm going to play it high on a flute now. There we go. But how about, instead of playing it slow like that, what if I played it quickly and high? There we go. I think that little version of it could represent his feet running around, but with the familiar theme for Remy the Rat, his leitmotif, which represents him to show that he's kind of running around. So I'm going to try that now. I'm going to press record, and I'm going to try playing in a really quick version of that theme over and over again. We call it an ostinato, and you repeat it over and over again to show his little feet running around the kitchen. Here we go. Let's press record. I've gone from just before. There we go. And I stopped just as he got hit by the door because I'm going to do something different there. Okay, so that little sound of him running around represents his feet. But the other thing that's going on in this clip, as well as him running around, is there's a lot of danger, isn't there? There's like feet stomping, there's fireballs coming up. I wanted something to represent the danger that's happening here too. So I'm going to go back to my string ensemble, and I'm going to try this time playing a big low note. There we go. There we go, right, nice and low on my keyboard. So when I play a low note on string ensemble, I'm playing one of the lower string instruments like the double bass. And I'm going to try having a long held low note on top of his scuttering feet on the flute to show the danger that's happening. So let's press record now and try and record that in. Here we go. There we go. So there's my low note on the strings. I think my flute's a bit loud, so I'm just going to turn that down a tiny bit. Great. Let's try adding one more thing into this. I'm going to make a new instrument here. So plus button for a new instrument. And I'm actually going to add in some more strings because I want some other strings playing on top of that. So I'm going to go back to the orchestral. I'm going to go another string ensemble. It's the same instrument, but what I want to happen is there's this bit during him running around where there's a fireball, isn't there? There we go. And when this fireball happens, I'm going to, with my higher strings again, so maybe it's the ones in the middle, like my violas perhaps, I'm going to play what's called a discord, which is basically means I'm going to mash my hand down on the keyboard, playing a combination of black notes and white notes close together that sounds a bit clashing, like this. There we go. That's quite a clashing sound, isn't it? And it makes it sound very kind of like unsettling. And in this case, it's going to represent the danger of the fireball when he sees it. So I'm going to press record, and I'm going to record in a little clashing discord as he sees the fireball. Here we go. Ready. There we go. Now, again, when I was playing, I was a tiny bit late there. So let's double click on it, get the notes. And again, I'm going to move the playhead and see when it should happen, probably about there. So I'm going to move those notes back a little bit. There we go. And let's watch and see if that syncs up. Oh yeah, very good. Nice one. What I might do as well to just add to that is I'm going to go back to my orchestral kit, which I've got here, my orchestral kit sound, and as well as my cymbal crash, which I've already used in my track. Where was it? There we go. I'm going to find some of the timpani drums. Now I've just found some there just next to it actually. Here's a couple of drums like this. Now that's a timpani, which are those big drums which can be used to create dramatic sounds. And I might just play some of those over the top of him running around to represent the stomping feet, showing the other danger happening in this part of the scene. And I'm going to finish this whole part where he gets hit by the door with another cymbal crash. So let's press record. I'm going to on my keyboard play in some timpani, dom 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 dom, and then a cymbal crash as he gets hit by the door. Here we go. There we go. And so I played in some of those dom 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 dom, and then I played the cymbal crash as he got hit by the door. Again, if I double click on it, if it wasn't quite exactly, I think it was actually pretty bang on there, but if it was slightly wrong, in the wrong timing, I could move it around to make it fit. So here we go. I've got most of my track now. I've just got the end, and in the end, last bit of the clip, if I press play, you'll see that he kind of slides across the floor. Oh, poor little guy. And all is lost. He's a bit worried for a second, but then he looks up at the windowsill and he sees some ingredients, and that gives him the idea of, hang on a minute, I could actually help and fix this soup. So there's like a bit of a moment of triumph at the end there, something good to finish the clip. But before that, I've got the all is lost as he slides across the floor. So I'm going to try and play something sad. On my string ensemble track, let's find one of them. I've got two now. I'm going to use this one here. So I played what's called a discord before, a clashing group of notes. I'm going to play a standard chord now. Now, a standard chord, your teacher will be able to show you what they look like. You've got a major chord or a minor chord, and we're going to do those in more detail in a future project. But a minor chord can sound really nice and sad like this. There we go. So I'm going to use a minor chord starting on the note A, and I'm going to try playing in that combination of three notes as he slides across the floor to show the sort of, oh dear, everything's gone wrong moment after he gets hit by the door. So let's press record and record in a minor chord. Here we go. There we go, and I'll stop there because then he spots the ingredients and things feel a bit more hopeful at the end. So there we go. I added in a minor chord there, and your teacher will be able to show you a way to construct a minor chord. But the one I did looked like this. If I show you on my musical typing, you basically find a note. This is the note A. I know it says H because I'm using the computer keyboard there. You find the note A, then miss one, play the next one, miss one, play the next one. So this combination of notes there is what's called an A minor chord. It can sound quite nice and sad. Finally, I've just got to finish out my clip with a moment of triumph. So I'm going to add a new track, plus button up here, new MIDI track. And this time in my orchestral menu, I'm going to choose the brass because I haven't used any brass yet. And brass can be really good for creating a sort of fanfare like triumphant moment to finish. So I'm going to find some trumpets. Trumpets are higher on the keyboard, so I'm going to play my slightly higher notes, and I'm going to make up a little tune to show, hooray, everything's gone well at the end. So I might find a combination of notes on the keyboard, maybe something like this. There we go. I used a couple of notes there on the keyboard, and I was just trying to come up with, I used just a couple of notes there. I went, there we go, that was 4 notes to come up with a little pattern to show hooray. And I think in my head that bit sounds like hooray, things are looking up, which is how we finish the clip. So let's press record and record that in. Here we go. And there we go. That takes us out to the end. My little fanfare, my finishing bit there. So I've now added in lots of different sounds to my clip. Let's have a listen to the whole thing and see what it sounds like. The last thing that I would do is just check my volumes. I've got volumes over here on the left-hand side, and I want to make sure that I can hear everything nice and clearly, but that no instrument is too loud or overpowering, and that the sound effects are balanced well so I can hear them clearly, but they're also not drowning out the music. I'll let you spend a bit of time with that. But let's watch my final clip now. So I've just made it bigger so we can pretend we're, there we go, in the cinema watching this as a final thing. Let's press play and see how this sounds with my final soundtrack. Here we go.
We're gonna tell somebody hack.
And there we go. There is my soundtrack to this Ratatouille clip. And you can do some fine tuning from there. You can move things around. You could delete things, add in new things. And when you've finished your final version of your track, then you can save a copy and send it to your teacher for marking. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial of how to make your own film soundtrack. And we really look forward to having a listen to your final pieces.